What do you get when a legless lad and a blind bloke walk into a bar? A couple of mates on a mission to challenge what it means to be tough.
Welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tough, a podcast on a mission to redefine what it truly means to be tough. And as always, we are proudly brought to you by Ski for Life, an incredible Aussie charity dedicated to promoting mental health, well-being and suicide prevention. Mike, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Very good at the moment. It's middle of winter. Just got back from the States, but good as gold and ready to get stuck in today's episode. It's got a great guest, and I think someone that everyone can learn a lot from.
Mate, it is going to be an absolute ripper. How was the trip?
Yeah, it was all good. It's hard, always adjusting, and I think we made the error of trying to keep costs down and going over to the States, so we had 3 flights instead of 2, so it was 25 hours with 2 kids under 3. That was tough. Like we talk about the definition of tough. That seemed pretty tough at the time, but you get through it, and then you sort of. I'm very lucky to have a very short memory, so we're back in the swing of things now, and good to be in front of the podcast, Mike, interviewing a great guest today.
Yeah, absolutely. Back at it again, which we are both bloody pumped about. And Mike, I'm going to let you introduce this one, mate.
Yeah, I think this has been someone we've been wanting to get on for quite a while, and obviously we've got a guest list. We just want to make sure that people that come onto the podcast can share, their journeys, but what they've learned through the journeys. And today we've invited someone. Mike Longshore is his name, and he is a professional firefighter. He's seen it all, and as you'll hear in a moment, he doesn't speak in an Australian accent, and we're going to unpack his story and his journey coming over here, and his journey as a professional firefighter and what it means to be tough. But Mike, welcome to Talkin Tough podcast, mate.
Oh, thank you, Ben and Mike. Really appreciate you having me here. It's a first for me, being on a podcast and just obviously hanging out with you in this forum. But very excited, mate.
Looking forward to it. As always with all our guests, mate, it's a nice, casual conversation.
Yes.
We want to know, growing up, obviously you got a bit of an American twang to your accent. Where are you from?
I do. I'm from Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas?
So I was born in Houston, Texas, grew up there for a number of years before I moved to California. So I've sort of bounced around a bit after that.
And it's fair to say that America is a little bit different to Australia, which you can, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that later. But growing up in the States, in Houston and Texas, what did you grow up thinking tough meant? What did that mean to you?
Oh, gee. So, everyone around the world, and I'm not just saying it because Texans say it, me being an ex-Texan, everyone knows about Texas, whether it be through tall tales or history, sporting events, that sort of thing. But when you think about Texas tough, it's the big hats, the cowboys, the ones that really wear that armor which hides their interior emotions, and really it was just getting around and seeing who had the loudest voice and who had the biggest personality.
Yeah, so you mentioned loudest voice, right? So there's a bit of bravado involved in that. So people just acting tough, being tough. They also happen to have a gun on each hip too, don't they? So
they do. They really like
the toughness.
100%. They really like to emphasize, how tough they are by show of strength in that manner. I don't think that many of them know how to use it as well as they can show it, but that just seems to be the norm. But
bigger the gun, the tougher you are in the
apparently.
States.
Apparently, that's what they say.
By extension to that, cars. Isn't it outrageous? Because you also just came back from the States. You go over there and there's like every single car on the road is like a monster truck to us, and there's one person in it. It's not like they're buying them because they need a sort of they're not people movers. They just want a truck because it's is it an extension of their sort of maybe their manhood or something?
I would say that's probably a good guess. I can't say firsthand that's what I experienced. I guess within my family and where I live, but everyone around me seemed to have that define them as the bigger the car you drive, the tougher you are.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, look, I guess that's probably where I found it interesting growing up for me, because I was actually the opposite in terms of my personality and being very shy. Mama's boy, grew up around a big family and big Hispanic family, and I think family was at the nucleus of my upbringing, but I always felt like that sense of toughness that we had just discussed, in obviously a figurative way to a point, was something that I never really had, whether it be a lack of confidence or the way I was brought up. Don't know.
Yep.
What was growing up like for you? Give us a bit of a paint the picture of growing up, family wise. What were you into as a kid?
Yep. So family wise, it was my initial upbringing. So I lived in Houston till I was about grade 3, grade 4. My dad worked for the gas and oil industry, and there was an opportunity for us to leave Texas to better our lives in California. So I actually spent my middle years and my high school years in California before I actually left California. But I always went back to Houston because that was where my grandparents grew up. I grew up around my cousins. We're very close in age. And I found that there was just a lot of love, a lot of nurturing. And to me, that was my anchor point. But California was a fantastic experience growing up. And I think it was also an opportunity. And, my mom admits it now, but my dad was he grew up in the Northwest. That's where his family was in Washington. And they sort of found that geographically where Houston was and Seattle, if we lived in San Francisco, that was about that halfway point between both families. So although I didn't spend a lot of time with my dad's family, over the years when I was growing up, I did have some contact, but my majority upbringing outside of my immediate family was with my grandparents and my cousins in Houston.
So, Mike, it's fair to say you're a family man, mate.
Oh,
I know that.
How many times have I said that already?
I think you are definitely a family man. But, mate, you're in Australia, so you've got this big family. You're a family man. How did you end up in Australia?
Jeez, well, very strange that you asked that. I actually, when I was 19 years old, I joined the military. 19 years old, I joined the military and bounced around for a number of years. But in 2000, when I was down in Puerto Rico, I happened to get in touch with a lovely young Australian girl by the name of Sarah.
How'd you do that?
And we did that online.
In the year 2000?
In the year 2000.
Did online exist in the year 2000?
Look, you know what? It was the
Monkey
good old
just peddling the internet.
AOL dial-up, and you can hear that in the background, and you even had the icon with the phone trying to link up to
Get off the
whoever
phone,
you're
bro.
The dial-up.
The dial-up.
Yeah,
it was a dial-up.
We all
It was
remember
crazy.
the sound,
It was
showing our
crazy.
age.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So it was quite funny because I was in an area of where it was sort of semi-isolated, but we had time to connect and so forth. So we had like a social hub and a breakout hub within the military when you weren't on duty that you could go and engage with. And that was when the whole chat room thing was slowly starting to grab legs. Like email was still like, wow,
A new
mind-blowing.
thing. Yep.
Like it was amazing how you can write an email and then send it within a matter of minutes. Someone else on the other side of the world could read it. Well, this is next level. A chat room where you had just dot matrix sentences and
this is pre MySpace, pre MSN.
100%.
What was it called? The site you're on?
Actually, I don't know. I can't remember that. Do you remember?
I remember because that lovely lady that you're referring to is my sister, Sarah. And my version of the story is a little bit different. So I remember my dad had an office in the backyard and he has the internet. So my sister, I go to school one day, I'm in year 9, Benny, or something like that. And I'm in year 9 chatting to my mates and they go, oh, have you heard this thing? It's called the internet. And I'm like, oh, yeah, great, whatever. We sound like the Stone Age. There's this thing where you can talk to people on the other side of the world. And I'm like, bullshit, like that's crazy. So I went home, chatspace.com. Don't even know if it's still around. That's what it was called. So I'm chatting away and I'm like talking to people. It was like the bee's knees. Like I was like, wow, this is incredible. Almost can't believe it. My sister comes out. And she's 5 years older than me. So she's 19, 20 at the time.
Jeez, I think she would have been 19.
Yeah. And then she goes, what are you doing? And I said, oh, it's this thing, you can talk to people over the other side of the world. And she goes, give me a go. She starts chatting away on this thing. And then a few days pass, maybe a week or something. My dad's still working away like next to her. She comes out in the office and I was on the computer. I remember she looks at my dad and she goes, Dad, I met a guy on the internet and I'm moving to Puerto Rico to live with him.
Within a week.
That's what happened. Yeah, no shit. So you are a fast mover, right?
Oh, man, I tell you
And you
what.
must have just, and then he's looked at her and go, like fucking hell you are. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And then what was the story then? So how did you manage to sort of like convince mum and dad to let their 20-year-old or 19-year-old daughter go over to Puerto Rico
It was
to live
crazy because it wasn't me. Actually, it was your sister that was
She's
quite out of
pretty-
it,
she's
pushing
pretty
it. But
determined.
in saying that, like I think that still stuck to tradition because obviously the way being from a big family, tradition was still a part of my view on how I'm going to approach this. And at the time, when I met your sister, it was like we chatted for probably about 4 to 5 months before we even saw each other physically.
Yeah.
And so I think it was around the time not the Common
Did you
Games, the
send
Olympic
like
Games.
photos, or did you? How? Because that was
Did
that.
the internet
So
even have
initially-
photos? Is it black and white days?
We
or what?
had to mail photos.
You mailed photos.
So I have letters.
Snail mail. Yep.
I have snail mail letters that we've written as well as emails.
That's
I also
so
have
awesome.
Sarah, and she was cheeky about this. She had decided to send me her modeling brochure because at the time she was doing
Putting
quite
her
a
best
lot of
foot
modeling,
forward.
as you probably remember.
Yeah.
And so definitely put her best foot forward. Which actually, you know what? It didn't do it any justice because she was
Did
way
you-
more beautiful.
At
than what
any
she looked
point,
like
did
today.
you think you were getting catfished? Did
Well,
and that probably
at the
wasn't even a term
time,
back then.
it wasn't even a term. You couldn't even put your finger on something like that, and you
Yeah.
just took. I think it was because it was so new.
Yeah.
It was very innocent
Yeah.
at the time, for the most part, and those were like horror stories that never really
Yeah,
happened.
of
So you
course.
took what you saw for face
Yeah.
value, which was
Yep.
fantastic. Very innocent, and it was almost like I viewed it as, I don't know if you remember growing up. We used to write letters and send them overseas to other schools.
Pen
and it was that
pals.
pen pals.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I sort of aligned that experience with a modernized form of pen pal,
Yeah.
but in the military. So the great thing was that, we sent photos. Hilariously enough, there were paper photos,
Yeah,
like
wow.
brochures,
Yeah.
pictures. I sent her a couple of photos of me being a dickhead hanging out of a helicopter.
I
all
think I
that
might
stuff at
remember
the time.
those. Yeah.
And after that, I decided, right, okay, I'm going to go out and meet this girl.
Yeah.
And it was around the Olympic Games in Sydney, 2000.
Yeah.
When I decided to come and pay a visit. Mind you, it was only for 7 days, and
Yeah.
I flew. I think at the time, because I'd never been on this side of the world, I thought, you know what, I'm going to experience a little bit. I want to spend at least a good 30 plus hours on a plane. Now, I don't know why the hell I wanted to even do that.
That's commitment.
But I thought, you know
Yeah.
what? It's just me.
If I'm gonna
at the
do it,
time, I
let's
was
go the long
22.
way.
Let's go the long way. I don't give a shit. I'm not working, so
that's
let's have some fun. So
Yep.
for a Sunday visit, it took me probably about equally, well, I wouldn't say equally, probably about 3.5 to 4 days to get here.
Just to get here.
Just to get here.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was
Must have been true love, mate.
it was true love because
Yeah.
when we first met, we hit it off. I actually scared her in the airport.
Oh, really?
So she was waiting in the international rivals.
Yeah.
All she could go off of was
Yeah.
these photos of me
Hanging out of a
being in
helicopter,
flight suit,
full
hanging out of a
military
helicopter,
spec,
Yeah.
thinking,
being a dickhead basically. And
you probably you're unshaven. You stunk after a 30-hour
oh
flight.
man, it was ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
So
I was
what'd you
like,
do
what
to
have I
trick
done
her?
there? So I actually right away, as soon as I walked out, I did one scan and I immediately picked her out.
Yeah.
The only difference was her hair was a little bit shorter
Oh.
than what I had seen in the photos. And I thought, okay, I reckon the face is right, but I reckon, look, I'm probably about 85 to 90% confident it's her. But I could see she was scanning. She had no
Imagine
idea.
the nerves that you
Oh,
guys would
man.
have been experiencing
It
in that
was
moment.
So
Yeah.
and it's
was
not
so
like you can
nervous.
just pull your mobile phone out of your pocket and go,
No, exactly.
where are you?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like, where's my coins at? Man, I have to make
Yeah,
a phone
yeah.
call. Yeah. But literally, it turned out that she was looking around for me, sitting by one of the posts, and I actually came around
Oh,
from
you
behind
dirty
her.
dog.
And I didn't mean to scare her, but I thought, Sarah? And she turned around and scared the shit out of her.
Goodness me.
And then next thing you know, we just gave each other hugs, but it was just so surreal, man. Like we
That's
didn't
awesome.
realize it was like, I don't know. Like we probably both thought to a point that we were both getting catfished, but
Yeah.
we didn't know how to term it.
Yeah.
But I thought, look, worst case scenario, go and have a nice 7-day holiday in Australia
Unreal.
if it doesn't work out.
I was going to say, surely there was a part of your mind that was thinking that, like, hey,
yeah.
this is a flip of a coin. We might hit it off, or this could just be a 7-day holiday for me in Australia, and we have an hour coffee and go, yeah, this isn't for me, or she just doesn't even rock up to the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's that option too.
And a lot of people,
man.
I reckon, in your situation, it's amazing how strong, it must have been the conversations initially, because a lot of people would probably think, 30-hour flight, am I going to like this person? Stuff that. Like, they'd probably pass, but You did it, you followed through, and we're going to be unpacking this story, but, how many years later now, 23 years later,
23 years
you've
later,
lived in
mate.
Australia, you've
Yes.
built a career, you've got a beautiful family, and you live happily on the Mornington Peninsula, which is a pretty amazing story, and you're officially the man who invented Tinder and plenty of fish.
I should think about it now. I think, what about these royalties that should be rolling?
I
through?
reckon
just haven't
too,
seen
yeah.
that.
100%.
Yeah, conceptually, you really did. Or chat space, you should
shout
at least
out.
write
Yeah.
them a letter and say thank you. I
Yeah.
think so.
Tell you what,
They're
mate.
probably well and truly
Hindsight's brilliant.
defunct
Yeah,
now,
if we're looking for
sure.
a sponsor, we might hit up chatspace.com.
Chatspace.com.
Awesome
It's a
story,
great
though, mate.
episode.
Yeah,
Hey,
fantastic.
On that, so 7 days, are you, like you said, it was time around the Sydney Olympics. Did you meet in Sydney, Melbourne? Like, is this a meet the parents sort of set up all in the first 7 days, or did you do that at another time? And then how did the 7-day trip go to the next meeting, and then eventually living together?
Yes, well, so the 7 days was jam-packed, basically. 2 days, not even 2 days, I want to say. Probably a day. No, 2 days. 2 days together, just me and Sarah. I rented a place. It's no longer there, but in Port Melbourne. And back then, the dollar was fantastic for the US dollar. So I basically doubled my money when
50,
I came here.
yeah,
I thought,
50,
how good is
50,
this?
yeah.
Like, my plane ticket cost more
Yeah.
than my whole 7 days here. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow, unbelievable. But anyways, we stayed in a little place in Port Melbourne. Sarah, at the time, unbeknownst to me, had lived up the road in Sandringham. And at the time, she obviously had her brothers as well. So it was probably a matter of the second night that I was there, we ended up having dinner at the Stoke House.
Oh, yeah.
The old Stoke House, and in Port Melbourne, or St Kilda.
Yeah, St Kilda Falls.
And that's when I was able to meet Mike and Al and Sarah's parents. And look, to be honest, I was nervous as hell. I didn't know what to expect. I thought, you know what?
I would have been too.
This is great. Like, such a great experience. Sarah was fantastic. And I thought, this is where I want to be. I want to be with her, and I'm looking forward to meeting her family. And
Well, I think
just enrolled.
this isn't going to be news to you, but my
I've been
sister,
waiting for this,
my
the
sister
truth.
does what my sister wants, and none of us have a say in that. So Sarah wanted you to come and meet us, and we were doing it. Like she's
They're probably dragging their feet, weren't you? Like, shit,
yeah, well, she's
okay.
probably she's the strongest willed person in our family, if not the person that I've ever met. So you had your hands full, and then we met you, and then you were part of the family.
Shook
mate.
hands, said best of luck to you.
Yeah, pretty much.
She's
yeah.
yours now. I'm only teasing. She's awesome, my sister. And then fast forward, so you sort of establish a relationship, and then you've got this decision to make. I'm assuming where you were like, should we live in Australia? What does that look like, or do we go back to the States? What was that like for you making that decision?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't have that thought in my mind at all. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna run with this. This is great. I definitely wanted to set up. I wanted to, continue a relationship with her, and I mean, we hit it off. It was just so natural. But I think my initial thought was I still had another 12 months on my enlistment at the time.
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, I take that back. I had another 2 years. So I was going to go back to Puerto
Like
Rico.
compulsory? Yep.
Yeah, enlistment. So went back, and I thought maybe there was going to be an opportunity for me to visit again, or even if she was willing to come out and maybe visit me for a couple of months. And sure enough, it happened quicker than what I'd anticipated. 'Cause, as soon as I got back to Puerto Rico, within a few weeks,
Yep.
Sarah had already decided
booked her
that she
tickets.
was going to come and not only visit but stay for nearly at the time it was 8 months.
How does that work with you being in the military?
Yeah, interesting because
Did she ask that question?
we didn't really think that through. No, because at the time I had lived out in town, so off base, so you could at that point. But my job, I was a flight medic. So if I wasn't working in the hospital on base, I was with the squadron doing maritime rescue and medevacs and things like that. So I was never home basically. And in Puerto Rico is a beautiful tropical place in the Caribbean. It tends to have its own security issues, like countries in that region. So where I lived out in town, it was a share house, and all the homes there had bars around them, and it was just colorful bars, meaning more for security, but they would jazz it up because it's the Caribbean. So I felt bad at the time because when she came over and visited, not only visited, lived with me for a while, it was actually quite challenging for her because as soon as I left, she couldn't communicate. She couldn't speak the language.
Yeah.
I think that, for a couple of weeks was great for her, but I think after that month or 2 months, it became pretty challenging. And for me, I was always working. So to answer your question at that point, we didn't really think that through.
No.
And, unbeknownst to me at the time, it did also create its challenges for her and I when we were there. But, a time came when she was ready to head home and fully supported her. And we had already committed to each other that we were going to maintain the relationship. So she moved back about 8 months after the fact of us experiencing that point. And I was going to come out and visit. But again, I still had about another year on my enlistment at that point. And so there was some circumstances that had occurred when she did come back, as you know, Mike, clearly, and which changed definitively my thought process and where if I was going to stay with Sarah, which we were committed to each other, whether we set our life up here in Australia or in the US. So before Mike became ill, it was like, yep, we were going to plan to get out. I was going to go to Houston, develop a life. Whether or not that would have worked long term, we don't know, but that would have been the starting point. But after Mike had fallen ill and we maintained contact, that was probably one of the hardest 6 months of our lives together because there was a lot of things going on. Me trying to support her from the other side of the world, and
you're stuck in the military at that point.
I'm stuck in the military.
Yeah.
I can't.
And here you are going and losing your legs and just throwing a real spanner in the works of this.
Exactly.
This long distance relationship did not need a brother contracting meningococcal.
Yeah, it was very inconsiderate of me.
Very inconsiderate, mate. But in saying that, I do got to thank you, mate, because it did one thing for me, and I'll never forget this. It just made my decision very clear.
Yeah.
And
well, I must say, I talk a lot about my family and all the speaking and everything like that, but having Mike come back, Benny, and not knowing you all that well, but having him as an incredible support as well in those early years of recovery years was pretty awesome for me and our family in general, and also like the stability of having, because Sarah, everyone's out to sea, and then all of a sudden the decision's made for you to come to Australia. Having that extra support was pretty incredible, and everything. That's exactly what our whole family needed at the time. So whilst I made the decision for you, thank you very much for everything you did in the early days and beyond. But let's move forward a little bit. You establish yourself, and you come to Australia not to sit there thinking, well, what do I want to do for a career? What do I like? You're probably making it up as you go along.
100%, mate. I was making it up as I came along.
So, and then not shortly, how many years after that you decide, obviously, you're committed to each other, you get married, and then you start a family. Tell us about that.
Wow. So that happened pretty quick, actually. I should want to say quick, a matter of a couple of years. But but we took each day as it came, and unbeknownst to us, as time moved on, things just started to unfold organically. I must admit, I had a very small aspiration to continue my career in the emergency medical services, and fortunately for me, in some respect, despite all the challenges, it didn't work out, but we had very serious affairs come up when Sarah approached me after a couple of years and said, Mike, I'm just letting you know I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay.
Yep.
So another critical
shit's
point in my
now.
life, realizing that, okay, I can't just sit here and, make it up as I go along.
Yeah.
I got other things to think about now.
What were you doing job-wise in that first couple of years?
Man, that first couple of years, I was doing everything. I was the jack of all trades, master of
Mowing
none.
lawns.
So mowing lawns, doing dog grooming with Sarah.
Just
I think
doing
at
what
one
you
stage
needed
we
to
actually
do.
bought a business, the dog grooming business.
I remember
that. provided, we worked together for a little bit, but in that case, getting involved in health and fitness, and then, doing a few side jobs myself, whether it be garden maintenance or whatnot. So I did everything, anything to earn an income, but I always had the mindset that I was going to lock myself into something as I move forward. And the only thing that I felt like I gravitated towards was being able to be of service and get back into the medical sector, whether it be by way of becoming a paramedic or a firefighter.
And the fact that fire truck just
Right
went
on
past the
cue.
window, right on cue.
Did you order that in?
Did you ring that one in?
It doesn't surprise me because that's where I'm stationed at.
Yes,
just down the road. So
how far?
it's a normal occurrence around this time.
We're talking about it.
They checking up on you?
I reckon it's like
I
reckon it's a 5-iron to the fire station from here where Mike works, and you're a commander at the fire station.
I'm a station officer.
Station officer, my mistake.
That's okay.
And you obviously, you ended up not in the medical services, so AMBOs and everything, but in many respects, there's a lot of medical skills required, or knowing those skills required to be a firefighter. Tell us about your journey and how you got into the fireys.
Yeah, so it's very, very fortunate in that respect. So again, I had that background in the military, being a flight medic, and I thought, well, what way can I use my skill set through the military, where I was at in the US, to build a career here in Australia? And I originally applied to the Metropolitan Ambulance Service back then, so it wasn't AV. I'll probably cut that out. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for me with them in terms of my lateral entry. So the next obvious choice for me was to apply for the fire brigade.
Yep.
And they do provide a component of emergency medical response. And I thought, well, that's great. Regardless, I'm helping people. I'm of service to the community, and that's going to be my thing.
Career, yeah.
So after 4 years of applying and getting knocked back and then reapplying.
Because it's not easy to get in, is it?
No.
What's the sort of
it's
ratio of getting into the fire? Is it like, one in how many applicants get through?
Well,
it's quite stringent.
Back then we had, I think my intake alone was upwards to about 300 to 400. And they only, out of that, take maybe, anywhere from, 60 to 100 to class up.
Okay.
And then you get put on an order of merit, and depending on how soon positions open up, they run you through a course. But that could be a year to 2 to 3 years. You don't know.
You might be actually approved to become a firey, but it's almost like you just got to wait until they tap you on the shoulder.
And it's based on
so
how
life's
you
kind of on
score.
hold as well. And your score?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. And back then it's it's still true today. It's probably a bit more streamlined in terms of the recruitment, but and the turnaround time's quicker. But in terms of whether you're successful or not successful, you can reapply. But when I applied back then, it was usually at that point about a 2-year duration of knowing you start, you may not pass, so you got to wait another intake. So it was pretty challenging. But look, irrespective, I was working as a medical rep at that point in device sales. And so I had some sort of medical background that I would be able to exercise and apply a job to at that point. And look, if it eventuated, that's great. But my family was growing at the time, so financially I had to provide. And by the end, I think, we already had our third when I finally got my nod to go and go to the fire academy.
Which would have been quite, scary in itself and a tough decision to sort of cut the cord and go, okay, well, this is what I'm doing from now on. And what year was that? When did you start?
That was 2013.
Okay, so 12 years in now.
Yeah, 12 years in, man.
It's
and
flying.
It was, it's been a great journey. It's been challenging. But yeah, as you said, Mike, at the beginning, that no doubt it's what I wanted to do. And we're 3 strong with the kids, and you take a financial hit to go in. But, you do those jobs, for me, it was never about income. It was always about, job satisfaction and really being able to give back and be of service and be a good example for my kids.
And knowing someone who's really, since I've known you, you're incredibly disciplined, I think would be the word that comes to mind. Like you've done an Ironman over in Western Australia and the training involved in doing that. And you've got, and Ben and I have young kids, you're doing, you had young kids at the time. So the discipline to be able to do that. And then also being a background in the military, very structured and, rigid. It was something about the way that the fireys operate. Did that attract you to that profession, having that that structure that it provides for you in your life and the rigid nature of, and responsibility that's on your shoulders in being a firefighter?
Yeah, it was familiar, that's for sure. Even though brigade is considered a paramilitary organisation because they operate with a rank structure, which is critical, especially when you're working, you go into incidences and things like that. But then it's obviously scaled back to a normal job environment when you're in station, even though it's slightly different because the relationships you have and the fact that you spend so many hours together with a select few people. But definitely the quality of work, the type of work was familiar to me because it's what I experienced through the military. And it was just a natural fit for me. I felt it was right. I felt challenged, and I felt very, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say altruistic is the correct term, but I was very fulfilled because I was able to give as much as I could to help others. My background and the way I am as a person and built as I've learned over the years is that satisfies me by being able to help people.
Yeah. And
as cheesy as it sounds.
Yeah, 100%. And the fireys is, I suppose, a stereotypically tough job, as in general society, looking at a firefighter, what you do, running into burning buildings, putting them out, saving people. Like a lot of people look at that and go, that is something that I would not be able to do, or that's not for me. Do you feel like, because you said earlier when you talked about growing up that you weren't a naturally tough kid, was it the military that changed that for you, and that was sort of something that you didn't have a choice in? Was it something that you grew into, or going into the fireys, were you still the same person that would say that you're not super tough, but it just was something that you love to do?
Yep. That's a really good question. To be honest with you, I didn't have an innate toughness. I joined the military and I found that over the course of my life, even probably upwards to about the last 3 years ago, I should say, I've always challenged myself to see if I had the toughness and see if I could stack up, because again, growing up, as much as I was around a loving family, I lacked a lot of self-confidence, and I always worried about failing. It's always about failing for me, and it wasn't, me being able to achieve those high accolades. Me getting through boot camp, me getting through air crew school, me being able to, go through my aircraft familiarization, me getting into the fireys. I was really poor in looking back at my accomplishments because I was always chasing that toughness within myself that I felt that I lacked. It's only been probably about 3 to 4 years where I'm finally comfortable enough with myself, and maybe it's just my age now.
Giving yourself a tap on the back once in a while.
But I realize that I need to take that time out and just appreciate my wins and my successes, even though I'm not an outwardly, how should I say, an outwardly recognized person when it comes to me looking at that. I just get on with it.
Yeah.
But this step with the fireys and my experiences it suits me to a T because it makes me feel humble. Like we just do a job, like anyone else that goes out and does a job. Important job, and there's plenty of important jobs that don't wear a uniform that are done around the world. So I think that for me, it was something that I just found that I fit into, but it didn't make me feel as tough as what I was. How should I say?
Being seen to be by others.
Being seen to be by others. Yeah. I didn't want that. I didn't want that label, that stigma. I just wanted to. To me, what I valued more as I get older now, is that for me, toughness is about how much good you can do for people and how you can help people in time of need. And that is how I've reframed it in my life.
Yeah.
But
Like I think a lot of people sort of, focus on what they can do and what they can achieve and how they can get what they need or what they want.
yes,
But what you're saying just there is that the toughness is actually sort of parking that and saying, well, how can I actually, how can I go away from wanting everything from a selfish perspective potentially, and how can I give back or do things for others in need? That's the toughest choice to make. Like that's the hardest thing to do.
that's
what
right.
you're saying.
And whether it be with the community, your family, or the people you work with,
Yeah.
I think that's just something that I find is, it's cornerstone to me, and that's what I chase now more so than the toughness aspect. Even though that's the connotation that comes with it, being a firefighter and so forth. Some people, don't get me wrong, don't have any problem tooting their horn when they are firing. But hey, good.
Well,
on
you
them.
literally toot your horn, don't you? When
Yes.
you go, do you ever you always get a lot of people doing this on the
Little bit
roads,
of-
like pull the.
There's a couple there, but unfortunately these are like Rolls Royces now, mate. Like
Yeah, I know.
literally they're
They're
automatic
pretty
and they're
amazing,
little
aren't
push
they?
ones. The air horns have gone off on some of the older ones.
I got to. Sorry to interrupt, mate. I got to ask you. I've been dying to ask it. Is there a pole? We all want to know. Is there a pole?
There is a
pole in the
There is
station.
a pole.
And how often
you
does the
straight
pole
down?
get used?
Yeah.
Is
The
there
pole
better
gets
polemen
used-
than other polemen?
Yeah. Who's the best on the pole?
There definitely is, because there's been that pole's claimed a few scalps along the way
Has it?
as well.
Yeah.
Yes, there's one that exists. It's still in operation.
Really?
And it's in the main station in the city.
Okay.
And believe it or not, now, because there have been some instances where people have injured themselves,
Sore ankles.
they actually have to do an induction before
Really?
they're going down a pole. Yes.
Goodness me.
Called a triple O. I
mean, you're going
about
in the
to
right
jump in the
place
truck
for it.
and then
Yeah.
splat.
You're in the
So
right
they're going,
place.
now listen, we understand, right, that you're going to be going into burning houses, but you need to get your pole license before you do that.
That's right.
Is that
that's
what,
right. You get
that's what
signed off,
happens?
which is
That's unbelievable.
it's just so ironic.
Have you personally used the pole?
Yes, I have.
You have used the pole.
I have.
Was
And I
there
used it
a
couple of
little
times.
moment at the bottom that you went, yeah, I've made it?
Yeah.
That was
there was definitely.
rite of
I was
passage.
like, whew. But the problem was next. Okay, where am I at now? Because I've just come down, 2 levels, and I'm sitting here spun around. Where's my turnout?
Wait, it's a
the
2-level
the truck's
pole.
over there. Well, no, it's actually. So I take that back. It's a 1-level pole. It feels like it's 2 levels because it's so long.
Long.
But it's just 1 level. So
Yeah,
you
but
go
by the
down
time
to
you get to the
ground.
bottom, you're spraining your ankle, you're
Yes.
limping around, going, where's the truck?
Absolutely.
Where
It's
do I
like
do
you
have
get to the
pads.
pole, like there's an emergency, Melbourne's seen this huge emergency, you get down the pole and go, guys, sorry, I can't make this one.
Yes.
I'm just going to have to call the ambos.
That's
so
right.
they're going, splitting the...
And then
Split a
the
bit,
truck
yeah.
starts, the lights go on, and do you just go and save another cat out of a tree?
Oh,
or?
mate, whether it be a tree, a drain, underneath the car bonnet.
that doesn't really happen.
No, it happens, but not as much as what you think. And it's funny. And look, we respond to everything, mate. That's the thing. So fires, believe it or not, are a pretty small percentage
Yeah.
of what we attend to now. Not only based because of the education.
Chemical
that the public-
spills and all that sort of stuff. Like
Car accidents, chemical
car
spills.
accidents as well. Can you share, if you feel comfortable, can you share, because we talk about, obviously, we're talking about tough times and mental health is a big thing with our podcast. And I understand, what you have to go through on a daily basis would be tough by nature. Managing your mental health with everything that you have to see on a daily basis in the job, let's hear some of the things that you sort of deal with, maybe in a bit of detail.
So things to deal with, like in terms of how we respond to?
Or just what you
And
what you
maybe
have
jobs that have potentially
stuck in your mind a bit.
stuck in your mind or have been hard to
Yes.
shake, had an
Yeah.
impact.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I shouldn't say funny, but on my way here this morning, I was driving through. I take the Nepean Highway all the way up Beach Road, and I was passing through one of the suburbs there, and I noticed off to the left there in the parking lot where one of the beach step-offs was for the bay, I saw this van with this big rocket on it. And straight away, looked to the back, and I was to the left at it, and I thought, oh, man. And that van, believe it or not, and I've seen a couple around, it's a contractor van and for a plumbing company. And one of the jobs that I went to the last couple of years ago was chemical suicide, and it was a contractor that had drove that van. So when we turned up, and it was about 2 to 3 in the morning, Sure enough, we pull up and there's someone inside. We obviously have procedures that we have to follow in order to ensure the safety of our crew, but we still have to get a job done to confirm whether or not that this person had taken their own life. The family member had reported it in, but the irrespective of the intricacies of how the job rolled out, it was confirmed that he did pass away. But because it occurred within that same setting where there was this van with a big rocket on it, and the deceased person was inside, it just forever etched in my mind. And so those little things I get do pop up sometimes. That's probably one of the reasons why it's been asked before, wouldn't it be easier if you could work closer to home and go to a station closer to home? And I've done that early in my career. I've had an instance where I attended someone else had taken their own life, suicide, and it happened to be a known member within our family, and a friend of the family, I should say. And no sooner did I deal with the trauma and the fallout, not only from dealing with the situation, but obviously you have to work with the grieving families going on. At that time, there was, it seemed like there would have been about 20 people at that job. But irrespective, moving forward, it came up about a week later that this person had passed away through our family channel. And I thought, at the time, we just lived down the road from the station I was at. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay. I just sort of blocked it out because I dealt with the job, I processed it, filed it away. And no sooner does that happen, and then pictures of this person that we were working on started to come to light when he was obviously young and healthy, and I just didn't want to see that. Yeah. And for me, what it had immediately done, it just cast me back to that time where you had the grieving families around, and we were trying to save this person, and it rattled me big time. So I get little bits of memory that crop up like that are familiar to me. So to go back to the whole point of me bringing that up was that I choose not to work close to where I live for that reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whether it be a street corner where a car had got hit, a pedestrian had taken out a fire, was at another residence, which was familiar to me. I don't want to live around that.
Yeah.
You don't need to be driving past that every day and have, even though you're not necessarily front of mind thinking about it, and every day driving past going, oh yeah, that was that spot. It has to be there in the subconscious. Like you hear so much about it with veterans returning from war and then hearing choppers, and hearing that sound. And even though they're not going, oh, that reminds me of when I was, like it's just ingrained when it obviously has an impact that it makes you feel a certain way to your core. You can't shake that. And I think it's probably a pretty wise move to create that separation between what can be, by the sounds of it, quite a traumatic job and on a regular occurrence, and then go, but when I'm away from that, I can be away from that. I'm not driving past a reminder every single day.
That's right, Benny. That's right. And for me, I find that that's one tactic I use to try and deal with my mental, along with a few others. But I think the one that probably rattles me, that has rattled me the most, because we talk jokingly. We always go to fires, we do this and that, we save cats out of trees. But unfortunately, we live in a time where life's really tough, and some people, if not quite a large section of society, struggle to live day to day.
Yep,
and
of course.
And it becomes more of a reality where we are the first ones to turn up to these people that.
So is that you guys, like, is that fireys, ambos, or police? It's just whoever gets the call out at the time?
Depending on the type of call.
Okay.
Most of the time, whether it be a welfare check or a person that comes through, a medical call that comes through, it's unconscious, not breathing. We don't necessarily know straight away until we get further information.
Yep.
And in some instances, it's due to the fact that someone's taken their own life.
Yeah.
And in my one that has stuck with me quite a bit, it's probably been, my sister passed away 2 years ago, unexpectedly, and it was during COVID, and but toward the tail end of COVID, tail end of COVID. Anyways, she was in a room. Her partner was in the same house, and her partner had left her alone because she wasn't feeling well the whole day. And then after a number of hours, her partner went in and found her dead on the floor. So, anyways, when I got news of that and how she passed, and she was 48,
Young.
I realized that every suicide or someone that has taken their life, the jobs that we tended to in that, it all came rushing. It was almost like it was just a tidal wave of these memories that unloaded in my mind, and I struggled.
Of course.
Because I knew exactly how that would have gone down in my mind. But now that I got this personal attachment, a family member, someone that just died unexpectedly under really shit circumstances, it was a massive trigger for me for all the jobs that I went to.
And you're stuck here too, right? You're not able to go
here.
over there.
We couldn't travel
Can't
overseas.
assist your family.
Couldn't travel overseas, and so for me, it was a big challenge to try and manage that. And it took me a long time to work through that. It got to a point where I didn't want to go to work. I was scared that every time we heard the tones that it was going to be someone else that we were going to go to.
Yeah.
And then when you go to that job, you're thinking about your sister.
Thinking about my sister and
because you know the process and the ins and outs and what takes place when something of that nature, 99% of us don't have any idea about what that process is. So that one, knowing what was going to take place with your sister over in the States, brings it all back, and then you end up in a bit of a hole after that. How do you manage that? So what's in place for you, and sort of what I'm interested, because what might work for one person might not work for the other. What works for you, and how did you get through that tough time?
Mike, I've always been a subscriber to trying everything you can that is possible, that's out there for you to help you in saying it. So for us with our organisation, the Brigade, they've come a long way in providing the services that do help. I mean, there's still more that could be done in that space, but I know for me in particular, I've had to. What works for me best is a lot of self-care. So when I say a lot of self-care, meaning diet, exercise, sleep is a huge thing. As much as going back to the whole word about being toughness, being tough in that sense, looking back, being in the military, being in the brigade, how tough is it, how much sleep you can work on or work off of, basically. The less sleep, the better. That's not tough, mate.
So that was a measure of toughness?
In a way.
Even in the fire brigade?
Well, I wouldn't say in the fire brigade, more so in the military. More so in the military. And you start going to these calls, because, I experienced death in the military as well, in the profession that I was at, a number of times, seeing people go through death. But that's where I found that tactic was a lot more harmful to you, because you just pushed through it, and you didn't have that self-care. You didn't have, adequate sleep. You would just basically go to the pub.
So getting the basics right.
Yep, getting the basics right. You got to get the basics right, diet, exercise. And look, it's a slippery slope sometimes too, knowing when you're spiraling downward. So for me, I was able to catch myself after that had occurred with my sister, probably after 3 months out, because I knew how I was feeling. And there was one point where I felt like I wasn't too sure if I would be able to get on the trucks after that incident for a period of time. But I engaged the services that were on offer, so being able to speak to someone as well is what's helped me. It's taken time, and there wasn't a one-size-fits-all either. I had to go to a number of people before I actually could feel confident enough and comfortable enough to speak. I felt like, what does this fucking person know? They just sit here, they're just going to analyze me. Or, I don't need that. I don't need that, or I can push through.
You're not the only bloke that's felt like that.
No.
Oh man, absolutely.
That'll be resonating with a lot of listeners. Like that's probably the the thought process going in, isn't it, Benny? You know, you think, and also given that you know what you know and your job you do, and then someone who's academically trained potentially, if it's and you're going out with conversation, there's no sort of lived experience relatability. But you obviously said before that you had to find someone that you connected with, and when you finally did, what was the reason you connected with them?
I think for me, it was more about how genuine they were in actually listening to me and helping me. I felt for the ones before that, they head down, taking notes. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Yeah, look, I can understand how you'd feel about that. And that was it. Like there was no empathy felt. Not that that's what I needed, or at least that I thought I needed at the time, but it was just a chat. Someone that thought, you know what? I can see why you feel like shit. I get it.
Just
like,
validating,
you know, it
why
just
you were feeling
validating
why
I was feeling the way I was feeling, but also saying that, you know, it's something, not giving me false hope, saying that, okay, after this, a couple of sessions, you're going to be great. It's like, no, you're going to have to work through this, and it's going to take time, and you're going to have setbacks. You may have some great days, but you may have that one day that you feel you regress a bit. But it doesn't mean that it's not working. You just got to continue to push. And being more open about your experiences in that sense, you know, when it's appropriate, not only to help you, but to help others deal with, you know, what they're going through, I find is key too. And, you know, just being kind to people, you know, whether it doesn't matter what sort of day they've had, you know, try not to take things personally. It's really about, you know, being empathetic and caring for others. And so I found that for me, that connection was met after a while with the people that I was dealing with and speaking to.
When you were going through that tough time, that struggle, did you find it was showing up in other areas of your life? As in, I know my wife always knows when I'm stressed because I'm grumpy around her, I'm shorter with the kids, and it's not the type of person you want to be. And sometimes it takes, even though internally you know that you're not liking the situation, you are struggling, but we just stereotypically go push through, push through, push through. It's been what's sort of taught to us and ingrained in us to do. Was it you identifying that you needed to do something about it, or was it bit of column A, bit of column B? What was sort of the point where you said, I need some help here?
The point that I recognized I needed to find a way through it, and it wasn't going to be on solely my shoulders, was when, it definitely bled through to my family. So the way I was acting around my kids, the way I was acting around Sarah, you know, she knows me inside out. She's the one person that knows me the best. And, you know, even when it came to the point where my kids were saying, you know, that they didn't want to be around me. They weren't saying anything. They just didn't want to be around me. That also started to affect
that's a hard
me as
thing
well.
to hear, right?
Because then, you know, part of it is your social connectedness, which is what I use as an adjunct to help me when I get through these low points.
Yeah, that's your outlet. Your outlet is spending time with your family, and they don't want to spend time with you, and you're like, but I need to spend time with you to get through this.
And then it becomes this forced interaction, and then I get why they don't want to be around, because I'm just being a dick. You know, it's like I'm grumpy.
It's a big thing
irritable.
to admit, though, isn't it? Right?
100% it is, and it's so frustrating because it's the one thing that you want, but yet it's in, you know, you're the one that's affecting that interaction, and you don't really even know it. And as much as Sarah brought it up to me a number of times when I was acting that way, I was like, yeah, I'm sure, I'm just stressed, but I'll work through it. And then fair enough, you know, freaking an hour, 2 hours later, I'm back being this person that's just irritable, grumpy, don't want to be around anyone, but then I want to be around people. So I was so confused in how to manage that. And it just takes, for me, it took a lot of patience and a lot of trust in, you know, what Sarah was saying, and really looking myself in the mirror and saying, you need to change. As hard as that was for me, thinking that, well, no, it's always been me that's tried to help people and help them fix their things. It's easier to put my feelings aside and not address the skeletons in the closet and the issues that are within my life in order for me to help other people. That's what I gravitated towards. Whereas now I've had to regress back from that.
Yeah, because it's easy in those moments where, be it Sarah, be it for me, it's Amy, going, I think you maybe went a bit hard on the kids there, and you instantly snap back and you go, no, but the kid was being a little shit. Like, or kids will be kids. Oh, teenagers, like you start pointing fingers, but like you say, it takes a big deep breath to look at yourself in the mirror and go, hang on, I've got a big role to play here, and maybe it's not Sarah that's pissing me off. Maybe it's not this or that or all these other external factors. Maybe there's a lot more going on inside that I need to address first, and maybe everyone else is just doing their thing, and it's more something I've got to address with me rather than pointing the finger, because it's often that deflection, isn't it, that we use inside our head.
Well, yeah, it's such a relatable thing. I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm like, so many like parallels, as I'm sure Ben just explained with him and Amy, but it's such a weird. We're set up in such a weird way as human beings, because when you are down, when you are in those sort of those darker moments, when you are treating the people you care the most for like crap, that's the time that it's the hardest thing to hear the truth.
Yes.
But it's the thing you need most.
It's the thing you need most. So it takes a lot of maturity to sit there and go, and it like often you'll fight it off and you'll say, nah, stuff you, it's you, it's not me, sort of thing. And you can do that, right? Then when the dust settles, you have to make a decision. And it sounds like you were able to make a really tough decision to say, yeah, actually, I need to do something about this. Yeah. And then you went and sought help. And then as a result, how did that affect your family life?
Well, definitely it helped improve it. I know that just purely recognizing that I needed help at that time. And mind you, I've done it a number of times now, meaning I've had to seek help because I realize that it works for me. So I know that when I'm heading down that path, okay, I don't hold off anymore and thinking, no, it'll be all right. I'll just get a good night's sleep, or I'll have this next 4 days off from work. I'll reset. Things will be fine. And when they don't, it's like, okay, I got to do something.
Longer way back, isn't it?
Yep. I'm not going to sit there and just let it continue to spiral downwards before I get to that rock bottom like I was before, and it doesn't work. And it's not that it's too late back then, but for me, I don't want to affect my family like I did.
No, it's a great message. It really is.
We talk a lot about bottling things up, and I mean it's a very simple metaphor, but if your bottle is only a quarter full, but you proactively choose to implement something, go and do something to tip that quarter out, like it's a lot quicker to tip that out than waiting till it gets fuller, heavier, and it's a lot bigger process to get all that out. And like you say, you can wait till you're a 8, a 9, a 10 potentially until you go and do that. But now knowing yourself and being as aware of when you are doing it tough, going, I'm not going to wait till that. I'm not going to wait till the bottle's full, because I've done that before and it's not good and it starts affecting family and whatnot. Let's just address it. Let's be proactive and let's book that session in while the bottle's only 30, 40, 50% full, and let's tip some shit out.
That's right. 100%, man. I couldn't agree more.
So back to cowboy hats for a moment. In Texas, growing up, what you thought tough was
let's
back
get back
there,
to the States.
cowboy boots
Cowboy
and
boots.
buckles and big trucks and
Guns.
guns.
Guns that you
Did you ever
couldn't
see
shoot.
anyone? My favourite movie growing up was Young Guns, mate. So
Young
that
Guns was good.
good
Young
movie,
Guns was
top
good.
flick.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez and all the rest
It
of
was a
it.
good cast of crew.
But that was your version of tough growing up. You said you were a shy guy, but you would see these.
all about the image,
the
the
image,
look.
right? So
Yes,
going back to obviously you met my sister, your beautiful wife. You come to Australia and you forge this career. You got a beautiful family, 3 wonderful kids, and you're really in a senior position now where you're able to mentor other people and give back, like you said. But given what you've been through in that journey and your old version of tough, what does it really mean to be tough to you now in your eyes?
What that means to me now is making yourself, measuring how good you can be for others by looking after yourself first. Because if you can't look after yourself, you can't look after others. So to me, that's being tough, recognizing the warning signs when things start to spiral downwards and reacting quick to it, and not ignoring those things, because that's, to me, that's tough. Is recognizing when, okay, I'm cooked here. I need help, and I can't put this off anymore, for whether it be the sake for me or for my family.
Yep.
I need to be the best I can for my family. The only way I can do that is if I'm good to myself.
Awesome definition. I love it. Benny?
Absolutely. No, I love that as well, mate. And thank you for your openness and your vulnerability in sharing some of your journey, your experiences. I'd love to just touch on quickly if we can, because you mentioned back in 2000, sort of you're in the military, and in order to deal with tough stuff then, the process was go to the pub, right?
Absolutely.
And nowadays, with that definition that you've just given of what tough now means to you, but within the profession that you are in as a firey, do you feel like in that 25 years, I know you're in obviously different country, different profession, but do you feel like we're getting better at dealing with the tough stuff from a professional point of view and the organisation that you're a part of?
I think we are definitely headed in the right direction. That's for sure. We're talking about it now, which is the most important thing. And can there be more work in those spaces? Absolutely. There always can be, especially when, you're still losing people, on a daily basis that struggle. I think the more we can spread that network, that net, and not only that, just the accessibility of something as simple as this podcast, touching and reaching out to someone, that is what needs to be continued to do, but even at a broader scale across a wide variety of professions. Like I said, with us, we're very fortunate that at least we have something in place in an organization. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what our fellow service members within the police and the ambos, in the ambulance service get. So, speaking in the private sector as a whole, that needs to spread further out into those areas. I think the more access to those services is going to make things better for everyone.
And do you feel like people that are working within the organisation, within the brigade, are you finding culturally a shift in the last sort of 12 years that you've been a part of it? Are more people open to putting their hand up and saying, I am struggling, I'm doing it tough, I need some help here?
There is, fortunately.
Awesome.
So they're starting to remove that stigma. There's the odd person or two that just for whatever reason they're very private and they tend to keep that to themselves. But it's ingrained in our training now, where we have that emotional intelligence to
even in
determine.
training, which is great, because you get a lot. Like I talked to you, you get a lot of old heads at the top of there's a lot of older crew, isn't there, that probably don't really subscribe to some of this sort of new world stuff. So that's great
right.
that it's part of the training now, and it's kind of maybe it's a little bit of a case of when there's a bit of a changing of the guard, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more serious, and that stigma then diminishes even more.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the more it's out there, and people may knock it back the first time, they may partially listen the second time, the third they may take a little more, but then by the fourth or fifth, they're actually implementing some of these strategies to help them in their life. Yeah. So, you got to think as well for us in particular, not only the nature of the work, but, our own personal lives, whether people are going through divorces or loss of family members or having issues with their kids at home. All that resonates, and that becomes extremely magnified when your workspace isn't sound and you don't have those support aspects there. Yeah. So it's a holistic approach with a person's life, the way I see it. It's not only career, and what you do with your profession, but, how can we help people with their own personal lives when needed?
100%, because work doesn't always just stay at work, and home life doesn't stay at home. There's always crossover. You bring work to home and home to work sometimes. And I think, like you said, the skills and the training that you're getting at work might help with the divorce at home, or vice versa. And I think the cool thing that I'm loving hearing there is, yes, we're getting there. There's still plenty more to be done, absolutely, and that's probably fair to say across the board, across a whole range of different industries. There's always areas that we can look to improving and getting better at, but the fact that you are seeing progress, and probably more so, the training and support is one thing, but the stigma is probably the thing that I'm more excited to hear.
Yeah,
that in an industry like yours that is so stereotypically tough, there is more people willing to put their hand up and go, yep, I might be wearing a uniform and a helmet, I might look tough on the outside, but I'm not okay at the moment, and I'm going to go get the help that I need right now, which is awesome to hear, mate. Mate, thank you so much for coming
Awesome.
on.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Mike.
for queuing the fire truck before,
Absolutely.
just to make it legit.
I was hoping
That
they'd
was
do
so
a
good.
grand finale wrap up, but they're a bit late after.
We'll patch them back in. We'll edit it in.
No, it was good. Thanks so much, Mike, for, like Benny said, being open and vulnerable. I know you were probably a little bit nervous coming in here and having a bit of a chat when
That's
I
it.
asked you
It's the family chat in this season.
yeah. No, it was, but it is quite a remarkable story, and you've gone from strength to strength, and keep doing what you're doing, and really appreciate you coming on, mate.
No, appreciate it. Thank you both. Really appreciate being here.
Cheers. If anything you heard in today's episode has struck a chord with you, as always, make sure you pick up the phone and either call a mate, a family member, or a professional. And if for whatever reason they don't pick up, you can always call Lifeline on 13 11 14. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.